It's a cold, rainy night. The night before Thanksgiving, 1971. The sky is dark and a storm is brewing. Not only a storm outside, but one inside an airplane as it flies north towards Seattle. A man, clad with sunglasses, parachutes, and $200,000 in cash, stands at the back of an airplane. The plane's stairs go down, and with a single breath in and then out, the man jumps into the darkness. Did he disappear into the abyss? Was he swallowed by the wilderness? Or did he survive and get away to tell the tale? That's what we're going to talk about this week on our Two Crime Newsies podcast, where we cover some of the most mysterious stories out there. This week, we're covering the show The Mystery of D.B. Cooper by HBO. Hi, Tina.
Hi, Jen.
So I watched this show, The Mystery of D.B. Cooper, on Max. Where did you watch it?
Same, Max, HBO Max app.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like a lot of people might not know who DB Cooper is. Like, I feel like you and I are old enough. I mean, we weren't there.
What are you trying to say?
So I feel like a lot of people might not know who DB Cooper is.
Well, okay. DB Cooper is this guy who is...
Or girl.
Or a girl. Thank you. Who is known for his infamous hijacking of an airplane Thanksgiving Eve in 1971.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. It happened in Portland, Oregon. He hijacked a Northwest...
Hold on, did it happen in Portland, Oregon, though?
Yeah, that's where he hopped aboard the plane, isn't it?
It is.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so he hopped aboard the plane in Portland, Oregon, parachuted out the tail door at 10,000 feet.
That's crazy.
Somewhere between Reno and Seattle, Washington. And it's the only unsolved airplane hijacking in U.S. history, unless we solve it today.
I mean, that'd be pretty awesome. I feel like, I bet the FBI has some kind of reward money. Like, I could do some things with FBI reward money.
I don't know. By the end of the episode, I kind of gave up hope on that. We'll see.
We'll see. So we watched this show. I watched it a couple of times because I think the DB Cooper thing is super interesting.
It's the show was a lot of fun to watch. Yeah. There was some crazy characters that they interviewed in there.
Yeah. I texted Tina when I was like 10 minutes into the show and told her that it reminded me of Netflix's Tiger King show.
Yeah.
Just the way some of the people were and
the characters,
yes!
Their personality, they're a little cuckoo.
Not that, please don't sue us. We don't want you to think that we're...
Listen, cuckoo is a kind word, I think, these days. There's a lot more mean things people say.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, the characters are definitely interesting ones, and we will get into those. But I think first we'll start out by talking a little bit more about what happened the night before Thanksgiving, 1971. We'll talk about some of the key players who were involved, not in the hijacking itself, but some of the people who were forced to be a part of it because they were on the airplane while this was happening. He boarded the plane in Portland at Portland International to go to Seattle, which is normally a 37-minute flight, the show said.
Okay.
Super, super quick, like puddle hopper. I think that's what it's called. Like
puddle jumper.
There you go. That kind
I
of
don't know.
flight.
Maybe it is a hopper.
The thing what absolutely fascinated me, which is so out of the norm of what we are used to today, was that you could walk into airports and it was like a whole other world.
Right. Than it is today.
We're talking like you walk up, you don't have to have a ticket already purchased. You can buy them at the airport, which I don't think is a thing anymore.
No. Well, I mean, I've never heard of someone just going up to the airport and buying a ticket.
No. I used to watch a show where they would like race around the world, and in other countries they were able to do that.
Is that like Amazing Race? Is that what you're talking about? Okay.
But I don't know if that's still a thing now because of like security stuff. So he went to the airport, bought his ticket, identified himself as Dan Cooper, right?
Where did the B come from? I thought it was, I don't think they make that clear.
No.
Okay, because I think he might have identified himself as DB Cooper, but then people who claimed to be DB Cooper identified themselves as Dan Cooper. I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay, yeah, that was something. That's a question. Who says Dan Cooper? Or maybe it said Dan DP Cooper or DB Dan
DP?
Cooper. You don't know how many times I typed in DP when I was making these notes instead of DB.
Yeah.
Right. I was thinking of Dr. Pepper maybe. But anyway.
So he paid cash at the airport for his ticket.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have to walk through security.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he got onto an airplane, and the way the airplane that he got onto was you would enter the airplane by the back. So like where the tail of the airplane was, there was like a set of stairs,
Mm-hmm.
and you just got on,
Mm-hmm.
and you were usually, by the looks of the show, greeted by like a hot flight attendant.
Yeah.
This was another thing. Like you had these girls walking around in these like short skirts and short shorts, and I was like, what kind of what kind of airline are we running here?
Mad Men style.
Right? I feel like there was a whole bunch of things going on those airplanes.
Who knows?
And then another thing on this show, they kept talking about people smoking on airplanes.
I do not know how that is not an immediate fire hazard.
Yeah.
How is this allowed? You're lighting a fire in a closed can.
Yeah.
Thousands of feet in the air.
Yeah.
And this is not a fire hazard? I mean, what kind of...
Yeah.
I don't understand this.
I know.
Logic.
And then I'm like, remember oxygen masks? The oxygen masks come down,
Mhm,
and did they have oxygen masks?
I don't know. And the pressure, like you just think all of these are bad ingredients together.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a thing back then. Smoking cigarettes on an airplane. Can you imagine that air?
I feel like those were some wild times.
Ugh.
Right?
Yeah. Have to have some crazy allergies coming out of that airplane.
He gets on the airplane. He takes a seat. Now he takes the back seat in the airplane.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you have your row down the middle, which, by the way, can we also talk about the seating on these airplanes?
It's so luxurious.
It is. It is. So I'm going to quote Tina's notes here. Now listen to this. What a luxurious experience to fly in the 1970s. The seats look roomy. The food looks delightful. And everything looks so charming. Although DB Cooper was smoking on the plane. Yuck.
Ew.
That's a good way to put it, Tina.
Yeah, but they did. They were showing clips of what it looked like, commercials for the airline. Come fly on our airline. We serve you this great food. They were cutting. What were they going to look like? Some Brazilian style steakhouse meat in the commercial and serving it to passengers. They were pouring coffee in this adorable little China tea set.
I know. And now on some airlines, you have to pay per drink, and you get a little bag of nuts if you're lucky.
If you're lucky. Oh my gosh. And all the leg room. Oh my gosh. Those seats look to have.
It's like basically first class flying right there, what they were doing back in coach.
We went back. Oh, also, I told you this earlier. I mentioned this earlier, where one of the commercials was touting how the experience was, or like they were bragging about how the experience of flying in an airplane was, what did they call it, motionless, or like you didn't feel anything, like it was just this experience where you felt no movement. What happened to those days?
Yeah, we don't have those days now.
Did our technology go backwards? I've never been on an airplane and haven't felt kind of crazy turbulence.
Mm-hmm. I never feel motionless, that's for sure.
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
anyway,
we know we're going.
I want to know what happened. What happened? Did these airlines get worse?
I would definitely fly on 1970s airline.
We lost that luxurious, no movement aircraft. We lost leg room. We lost luxurious food and drink. I'm not going to talk about cigarettes.
Yeah, let's go back to those flying things. DB Cooper's on. He takes the middle seat in the back row on the left side of the plane. On the right side of the plane is a guy who is a college student at the time, his name is Bill Mitchell. And he sat across the aisle from DB Cooper. He has gone on to say, both on the show and to FBI, that DB Cooper was wearing sunglasses on the flight, which he thought was kind of odd. It reminds me of that like I wear my
Sunglasses at night. I love that song.
Night?
Yes, because it was evening time.
Yeah.
It was dark.
So that's I think that'd be a little tip off. Like, this dude's a little
I
odd.
always freak out when I see someone wearing sunglasses inside a store at nighttime. It like they're definitely hiding something.
They're sketchy. The plane takes off, and while the plane is taking off, the guy in the back middle seat, who we now know as DB Cooper, hands the flight attendant a note. And the flight attendant puts it in her pocket because she just thinks it's another guy who's flirting with me. And a few minutes later, she's walking around and he tells her, "Miss, I want you to read that note." And then so she walks back to the little area where the flight crew kind of hangs out and has their little like jump seat. And she reads the note, and it says, "You're being hijacked. I have a bomb.
Come sit next to me."
Come sit next to me. Would you go sit next to him?
Nope. So what did she do, Jen? Hold on. She hands it. Yes, she hands it off.
She hands it off to somebody else. This lady who is in her 20s, early 20s, named Tina.
She hands the note to Tina
and
Tina, makes Tina do it.
You deal with it, Tina.
You deal with it, Tina.
I feel like that's something I would do to you.
Oh my gosh, definitely.
Yeah.
You deal with this crazy.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tina. I'll be up here passing out.
I mean, to be fair, maybe Tina was the more experienced of the two, but it's weird.
Yeah.
Okay, and keep going.
So Tina goes and sits next to this DB Cooper, and he opens up a suitcase, which he has on him.
A little briefcase.
It's a cute little like black suitcase.
Briefcase.
Same thing.
No, a suitcase is where you pack your clothes. A briefcase is much smaller.
Okay. He opens up the briefcase and she sees what looks to be a bomb. So we don't know if it was in fact a live bomb.
No, or she describes it as dynamite strapped together with wires and a large battery. And then he's holding something in his hand that she calls a trigger.
Detonator.
Oh my gosh, what a scary word. Yes.
Tina goes on to let the pilot know that they are in fact being hijacked. And I guess they have like a ding ding, like a call button.
And at this point, the plane is on the runway at full speed, ready for takeoff.
We're rolling.
Yeah.
We're going. Like, and there's no aborting this mission.
Right. Pilots say it is too late at that point when they hear from Tina that this is happening. It's too late to abort takeoff.
Okay. So they know they're going to be hijacked, which I think is a petrifying thing. Oh. But apparently in the 60s and 70s,
yes,
the show mentions this, that it was like a common occurrence.
Yeah. It wasn't uncommon.
Yeah.
For planes to be hijacked in the 70s, which how is security so lax when this seems to be an issue?
If this is a pattern, I think we should have beefed it up a little bit. Okay. So I read online, I was curious about, so the show mentioned that a lot of planes were getting hijacked during this time, and it wasn't normal. And so I was just kind of curious how many planes were in fact hijacked. So in a 4-year span between 1968 and 1972, the Columbia Daily Tribune online states that 137 planes were hijacked in the US alone, and that 91 of those planes went to Cuba.
Why did they go to Cuba, Jen?
So apparently in the show they mention one of the people who demanded to go to Cuba was complaining about eating too many TV dinners in the United States.
He was mad about too many TV dinners in the US. So he said, today I'm going to Cuba and I'm hijacking this plane. F those TV dinners. I'm getting myself some food.
I mean, when I heard that, it like blew my mind.
He said he wanted a real meal. So he decided to hijack a plane. They don't say who this person is. This is just one of the many hijackers who decided to go to Cuba. In my notes, while this is happening in the show, I said, samesies, sir. I also prefer Cuban food over fast food every day. And I also didn't even know they had TV dinners in the 1970s.
I didn't know they had microwaves.
Right.
Like, I didn't know that was a thing.
It's a thing, apparently.
So not only were they had microwaves, they had TV dinners, and people wanted to hijack planes to go to Cuba so they didn't have to eat those TV dinners.
Right. So when they get to Cuba, apparently these hijackings turn out to be a good time for the passengers who are just along for the ride.
Mhm.
Because when they get to Cuba, I guess the hijacker gets out. Everybody else that's in the plane gets a bottle of rum and some Cuban cigars, and then flies back to America.
On their way.
On their way.
That is bizarre.
That is so crazy.
So crazy.
And it does say in the show that the passengers thought it was a good time. Like, no one minded this plane getting hijacked to Cuba because they all got a bottle of rum and some cigars out of it. And it was like an adventure.
I mean, I feel like for the longest time, people weren't allowed to go to Cuba. So this is your one way to get to Cuba.
I suppose.
I got to be on a hijacked plane, get me some rum, get me some stogies, and on my way.
That's craziness. He
tells the flight attendant in the note that he wants 4 parachutes and $200,000 cash.
And negotiable currency.
Which I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means. I guess, like, whatever currency they both agreed upon.
Like small bills?
I don't know. I mean, it could be, I suppose. It didn't specify. Oh, and if he also asked for a fuel truck standing by and no fuzz. What a word. That's how you know this took place in the 70s. No fuzz? Someone handed me a note today that said no fuzz. I'd be like, excuse me, what are you talking about? Be bringing the authorities here. Give me my money and 4 parachutes. I thought 4 parachutes was an interesting request.
So the pilot, William Ratzak.
We should have done a pronunciation thing there.
We should have. He thought that he was requesting 4 parachutes because he wanted the crew to bail out with him.
Mm-hmm.
So the pilot radios or phones
I don't know
the
how
FBI.
they do that.
He somehow gets a hold of the FBI in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
And the FBI guy they interview on the show was just like, yeah, we just headed toward the airport. We didn't really have a plan, but we were going to see what we could do.
Mm-hmm.
They bring the money out to him. He lets the people off the airplane.
He does.
So
Tina is the one who picks up the money. Tina goes out of the airplane. She takes the things, the money and the parachutes, brings them back to the plane. And Tina asks DB Cooper if the passengers can leave. And he agrees after he gets the money that the passengers can leave. And so they let go of all the passengers along with 2 of the 3 stewardesses.
flight attendants.
Thank you. They call them the other word in the show. Let's go with flight attendant.
Flight attendant.
2 of the 3 of them leave. Tina's there. She's the lone one left.
She's the lone one. She's
along with the
wolf.
pilots. Yeah.
Yep.
So there's 3 crew members right now, a pilot, a co-pilot, and Tina and DB Cooper,
And
all
DB
in the
Cooper.
plane. That's 4. 4 parachutes.
4 parachutes. I mean, it makes sense why the pilot would think that he would want them to jump with him.
Right.
Woo.
So then DB Cooper demands that the plane flies to Mexico City.
Mm-hmm. Not Cuba.
Right. It departs at 7:36 with a planned stop to refuel at Reno, Nevada. DB demands the aircraft fly at 10,000 feet, and he wants the flaps down and the gear down.
To slow down the plane.
Right. Now, I feel that is just a physics mess waiting to happen. You are flying that high in the air, and then you want the stairs. I mean, we hear all the time that you cannot open a cabin door in flight because catastrophic things happen. How is this allowed?
How does he want to do this?
How does he want to do this? Right. Well, and there could be an explanation later, but right now we're thinking, how does he want to do this?
Correct. Tina, during all this, says that DB Cooper ordered a bourbon drink.
Mm-hmm.
He was a smoker, and she was lighting some of his cigarettes because he didn't want to take his hand off the trigger.
That's right.
This guy is just sitting there with his little bourbon and his smokes, and he's just calm as a cucumber, probably. Tina asked him if he had a grudge against the airline.
He said no,
he said,
but he does have a grudge.
against who?
He didn't specify.
So they are flying from Seattle to Reno, and somewhere over southern Washington state, the Oregon area is kind of where this occurs.
Tina goes into the cockpit with the pilots, and DB opens the stairs at the back of the airplane. And at some point, he jumps.
He jumps. Stairs are open, which I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, it's the night. There's a little bit of drizzle in the air because it's Washington State.
Also, they do mention in the show it was raining that day.
It was raining. Like, imagine that, like, mist coming in over the mountains. Like, we're not talking flat desert terrain here.
Right.
We are talking valleys with trees and lakes, and it's dense and it's cold. It's November. He opens up the stairs and you have a wind tunnel in that airplane.
It is chaotic in there.
Yeah.
It's loud, the pilots say.
There's
alarms going off.
Yep.
There's stuff flying everywhere. It's shaking.
I'm sure. And then with his parachutes and his little bag of money, the $200,000 in cash, farewell DB Cooper. And that's the last that anybody ever saw of him.
And he takes off with that bag of money. And they do mention in the show that the bag that he had did not have handles and it did not have a zipper. Well, the zipper didn't close.
Zipper didn't close, which I feel like is very intentional.
They definitely did that on purpose. And so they speculate in the show that how could he have gotten away with all of this money if he couldn't hold the bag with handles? He jumped out of the plane and the bag didn't shut, like it didn't zip close.
Didn't zip close.
What happened? Did it fall out? We don't know.
We don't know. Those are some of the mysteries. And in this show, they kind of surmise that it's somewhere near Woodland, Washington, is kind of the area that it happened. And the reason they think it happened somewhere around the city or town of Woodland, Washington, is because that kind of lined up with the time frame, how long it would have gotten to Seattle to get to that point on the map. Now, the airplane with Tina, the flight attendant, with William, the pilot, and with Harold Anderson, who is the second officer on board, safely lands in Reno, Nevada, where they meet with the press. Tina goes on to say that overall, DB Cooper seemed nice. He didn't try to harm her. He was never cruel or nasty or impolite to her.
Yeah, and the passenger, Bill Mitchell, that sat across the aisle from DB Cooper, he also says that he, according to your notes, very normal looking guy.
Yeah, he had a very slender face. He had thin hair, which was kind of parted to the side. Bill goes on to say that he had a thin nose, sunglasses on, which we already know, and there wasn't anything unusual about him.
So the question now is, what happened to DB Cooper? No one has ever found him. No one has found any hard evidence of this crime.
Where he went. What happened to him?
Where anything went. Where the briefcase went, where, with the bomb, where the parachutes went, where the money went.
In the 1980s, there was a kid in Washington State near the Columbia River in an area known as Tina Bar.
There's a lot of Tinas in this podcast
episode. It's a good name. He found 3 bundles of the money on the bank of the Columbia River. Which I think that's kind of interesting. And I'm assuming it was the FBI that ran the serial numbers on the money.
Assuming.
And they matched those numbers to the DB Cooper ransom money. The money was super wet, soggy, kind of sticking together.
Deteriorated looking. They do show a picture of what it looks like on the show.
They found some of the money, but who knows where the rest of the money went? Who knows where the parachutes went? And who knows where DB Cooper went?
And who knows how long that money had been sitting there, how it got there.
Yeah.
Had it been there the whole time? I mean,
yeah.
Did it wash up? We don't know.
We have no idea. All right, my friend, shall we get into the suspects?
Let's do it. There's 4.
There are 4. And I laugh just because all of these suspects are very different from each other.
But they all also match the DB Cooper composite sketch.
Yes. One of the things that I thought was hilarious in this show was that the FBI agent who was working the case for a good amount of time had received the sketch and had held up a picture of himself next to it and sent it off to his mom. And he said that his mom saw the sketch and was like, "You look very handsome in this." And he was like, "I am clearly not DB Cooper, Mom."
This makes me think that DB Cooper looks like everybody. This is why everybody thinks they're DB Cooper or they know who DB Cooper is, because according to this sketch, he looks like thousands, millions of people.
Millions of people all over the world.
Right.
So the four suspects, the first suspect that we're going to talk about, we were introduced to a lady named Jo Weber.
That's not the suspect.
Not the suspect. The suspect is Jo Weber's former husband.
May he rest in peace.
May he rest in peace. Dwayne Weber is his name.
Mm-hmm.
So suspect number one is Dwayne Weber.
Mm-hmm.
So the show starts off by saying that Jo claims that he told her that he had jumped out of a plane on his deathbed. She didn't believe him, and he told her it'll die with him then. The key thing he said to her that she claims is, "I'm Dan Cooper."
The last words he says before he died.
So she says.
But I want to talk about Jo here.
Talk about
because Jo is the first interview that we see in this show. And I have in my notes here, what a character.
I feel like she would be a lot of fun at a party.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She is slouched down on her couch with her knees up and her feet on an ottoman. And she looks like she does not care one bit that there are cameras in her home.
Mm-hmm.
She's just hanging out.
She's doing her thing. Talking about Dwayne.
At one point in the filming, you also see her perched in the background on top of her kitchen countertop.
Yes.
Kind of like Elf on the Shelf is what it reminded me of. It was so funny. She looked so small.
She did.
They're interviewing this person, at the forefront, and then in the background you see her just perched on her countertop looking like an elf on the shelf, and she comes out of nowhere. It's like almost a little bit, it's not a jump cut, but it is kind of weird when you see it, because you see the interview of this person at first, and then they go to a footage of something else, and then they come back and there she is in the background.
And who, Tina, was the interview with?
Okay, so a couple of things I've got before we get to who that interview is. Jo tells us that she was married to Dwayne for 17 years. She married him on March 27th, 1978. He died on March 28th, 1995. She says that they didn't talk about their past before they were married because she said, when you love someone, the past doesn't matter. I say, ma'am, if you're married to a hijacker, the past does matter.
Yes, where'd the money go?
I don't know where you come up with this stuff, but that's not true. Jo says Dwayne was in the hospital before he died with kidney disease, and he removed himself from the dialysis machine, and she goes to adjust his pillow, and he's trying to tell her something. You mentioned this. Ends up saying to her, "Let it die with me." And she said the nurse comes in and give him some injections, and he's still trying to tell her the story, and she doesn't know what he's saying. But there's one thing that stands out in the story. Dwayne tells Jo that he's Dan Cooper, and those were his last words. Crazy. And also, I don't know if I can trust everything that she says, because while she's talking to us, she's interrupted by someone in her home named Tim Collins, and his Chiron reads, Jo's memory man. Jo's memory man. That's his job. Man. He's her memory man.
Yes.
He's a younger.
He's much younger than her. I would say he's probably like 20s.
Looks like he could be her son.
Yeah.
Or even grandson.
Truthfully, the first time I watched the show, I thought it was her grandson.
Yeah. Right.
Just kind of the interaction between the two of them.
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we find out that Tim, Jo's memory man, grew up about 5 miles from where DB Cooper jumped. It's a very specific. Yes. Like, how does he know? We don't even know where he jumped. No. Anyway, that's what he claims. He's always been curious, he says, about DB Cooper's story, and he contacted Jo one day, and that they've been in touch ever since. And Tim corrects Jo and says It wasn't at the hospital when Dwayne was telling you this stuff. It was when he was in hospice and you were helping him put on his pants. You asked him about his knee and he said he heard it jumping out of the plane. Then Dwayne tells Joe to come closer so he can tell her the secret. And then, we already know what the secret is. But anyway, my point here is I don't know if we can trust Joe's memory because she's got a memory, man. I mean, it could have been that she told the version that Tim knows years before, and he remembers it because he's got a younger memory or a sharper memory. I don't know. How good is his memory? Anyway, the point is this. I don't know if we can trust what she says.
Mm-hmm. So one of the interesting things that they discuss, Joe and what is the memory man's name?
Tim.
I'm just going to call him the memory man.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
I like that a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that Joe and the memory man discuss in this is that after the crime had happened, Dwayne had apparently purchased 2 brand new cars despite only making $1,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
So buying 2 brand new cars after only making $1,000 a year, like that's a little suspect.
Right.
She also said that after he passed away, she found a fake driver's license in his wallet along with other fake identifications and found out that he had a prison record under another name.
Right. Again, Joe, what happened in the past matters.
It definitely matters. I would want to know all these things. Joe says that in 1979, 6 months before D.B. Cooper's ransom money was found on the banks of the Columbia River in Tina Bar, that Dwayne had taken her up to that area and pointed out locations saying that's where D.B. Cooper walked out of the woods and so forth. Now, she claims that one morning she is hanging out at this Tina Bar area hotel when Dwayne left the hotel. And when he came back, she could tell that he had been digging in something, she says, because he's kind of dirty, kind of nasty. And after he gets cleaned up, they get into a car and he has a paper bag with him. And she says that he threw this paper bag into a river.
Mm-hmm.
Then a couple of months later, 6 months later, money is discovered in Tina Bar.
Mm-hmm.
This, I think, is for Joe validation that her husband is D.B. Cooper.
This is why she thinks her husband is D.B. Cooper. And they do the sketch. They show Dwayne next to the D.B. Cooper sketch. And sure, I could see some resemblance.
It could be him, but it also, like, realistically, Tina, it could be you and me.
Don't. If I look like that sketch, I've got problems.
Not to mention that we weren't born in the 70s.
No way.
But
it's not
I'm
me.
just saying, with as many people as come forward claiming to either know D.B. Cooper or have a neighbor who is D.B. Cooper or any of these things, like, it could be anybody.
Yeah.
It could truly be anybody.
I will say at one point the interviewer asked Joe, what did you do next? Like, what did you do when Dwayne told you that he's Dan Cooper? Again, Dan Cooper.
Dan.
I don't know. So the interview asked Joe, what did you do next after you found out, or after he tells you he's Dan Cooper? And then he passes. She says she called the FBI.
I would have called too.
That's your husband, ma'am.
Maybe there's a reward.
That
I can solve it now.
Is dying with me.
Maybe I get the reward money.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Maybe there was reward money at that time.
I'm sure there was.
I don't know. She does mention that she spent 20. She mentions 25 years a lot. Like, I wasted 25 years of my life. I'm assuming that means she spent 25 years of her life trying to put this puzzle together. Probably. Is he D.B. Cooper? Was my husband D.B. Cooper?
Could be.
That's a lot. That's a lot of time.
Mm-hmm. I would need a memory man too.
Good point.
All right. Now, let's go on to suspect number 2, Barbara Dayton.
A woman.
A woman?
Right. So maybe I was wrong when I said I don't look like D.B. Cooper.
The shot opens up with Pat and Ron Foreman in their living room, sitting on the couch. Now, Pat and Ron look like cute old grandma and grandpa.
They do. They look very sweet.
And so they say that they believe their friend, Barbara Dayton, was D.B. Cooper. They say that they met Barbara at the local airport. They are big flying enthusiasts, and that Barbara had also been a pilot. Pat and Ron say that they hung out with Barbara every Sunday night, and about a year after being friends, she told them that she used to be a man. The show states that she was the first woman to have a sex change in the state of Washington.
First man to have a sex change, because she used to be a man. Now she's a woman.
Yes.
I saw your wheels turning up there in your brain. It's like mine when I try to do math.
I was a little hamster wheel. Yes, she goes on to say that her name before the sex change had been Robert Dayton. Somehow, during this friendship, D.B. Cooper came up.
Well, because the pilots are always talking about it, they say, at this airport, because this airport is located in Washington State, where this whole incident happened. And of course, it's captivated. Everyone's captivated by it because it happened in the area. No one knows who did it, who this person is. And so all of the pilots at this small airport are always talking about D.B. Cooper.
It is a fascinating thing. The Foremans claim and that they had joked with Barb that she looked like D.B. Cooper. And apparently, Pat and Ron say that Barb got upset by this, which I can understand that. You and I joke about it, but realistically, if you were like, Jen, you look like D.B. Cooper.
Well, here's the thing. I think they said she got angry when anyone would call him a common criminal. She didn't like that, they were, I guess, poking at him or making fun of him. And he defended D.B. Cooper. And real quick, I just want to say, I did Google where Dan Cooper came from. Okay, this is according to AI. Okay, I'm just going to put that disclaimer in there. This is Google AI. Google AI says that the name on the plane ticket was Dan Cooper.
Okay.
But it was mistakenly reported as D.B. Cooper by the United Press International Wire Service.
Oh.
So that's how the whole Dan D.B. Cooper thing happened.
Oh. Barb would get defensive about D.B. Cooper. One day, they were having, I'm assuming, like a dinner party.
It sounds like it. They had another young couple over with Barbara.
And they kind of combed her hair, Barb's hair.
Barb. Yes. They combed Barb's hair over to its side, gave her a pair of sunglasses to wear, and they took a Polaroid of her. For funsies.
And apparently, Barb looked like the one and only D.B. Cooper.
When they compare the two pictures, they look alike, is what Pat and Ron say. Then Barb apparently started giving out details. She admits that she's D.B. Cooper. Or Dan Cooper. She admits that she's Dan Cooper.
She told her friends that she tied the money belt around her waist. She opened the parachute at 1,000 feet and landed near Woodburn, Oregon, near the I-5. She got away by putting on a blonde wig, and off she went.
And changing out of her suit and tie. But we don't hear any other details. Like if you were telling me the story, I'd be like, hey, I want to know exactly how this happened. How did you get out of the woods? Did you hitchhike? Were you walking down the I-5?
Did you get stuck in a tree?
How did you re-enter society? Where's your parachute?
What'd you do with the money?
What'd you do with the money?
Yeah.
How come they didn't ask her what she did with the money?
Right? These are all things that I want to know.
How do they not ask Pat these questions, Pat and Ron? I don't see anybody asking Pat and Ron these questions throughout this whole thing.
Nope.
Okay.
So it closes with Pat and Ron still takes Barb's ashes flying with him sometimes.
Yeah, that's sweet.
I know. I thought that was a cute little ending. But they also in the show interview the daughter of Barbara Dayton.
Right.
And some
Still
cousins.
calling her Barb.
I know.
Okay. They interview the daughter, yes.
Of Barbara, Dayton, and some cousins. They all claim that when the family saw the sketch, they right away knew that Barbara was in fact the one and only DB Cooper.
Right. Who used to be named Robert Dayton.
Correct.
Well, not DB Cooper, but Barbara used to be Robert Dayton.
Yep, who they also referred to as Bobby.
Right, all very...
Lots of names.
I see where Barbara came from, though. Someone called you Bobby?
Yeah, I think Barbara is not too far of a jump.
Right. Anyway, so again, the pictures, if you compare them, sure, I could see a resemblance, of how Barbara could be DB Cooper.
Yeah.
Okay.
In my idea, or in my thinking, we'll discuss this more later on, but I feel that Barbara is the least likely suspect, in my opinion. But we'll get on to that.
I do find it odd that someone would say on their deathbed. You would think on your deathbed that's the most truthful that you're going to be.
Hopefully.
And then you say that you're Dan Cooper on your deathbed, unless maybe you're on drugs and, I don't know, something's happening there.
What kind of happy drugs you on?
Right? and then Barbara too, she admits, or she says, or she claims to be Dan Cooper. I mean, two people who believe
they're DB Cooper.
It's very strange.
All right. So now we're going to go into suspect number 3, Mr. L.D. Cooper. So suspect number 3 on the show is Mr. L.D. Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
I did some Googling trying to figure out what LD stood for. Mm-hmm. And it was Lynn Doyle Cooper. On the show, they speak to Marla Cooper, who is the niece of L.D. Cooper.
Right.
She says that in 1971, a couple of days before Thanksgiving, now remember, Thanksgiving Eve 1971 is when the hijacking occurred. Marla states that Uncle L.D. was talking about plotting something. They were hanging out, the family was out in the woods, and she overheard him plotting something.
With another uncle.
Correct. I love these names.
Right.
We've got Lynn Doyle. We've got Dewey. I love it. She's a kid at the time and is curious what they're talking about. And they just tell her, oh, we're just planning to hunt down some turkeys. And she's curious about it, but it's a couple days before Thanksgiving. Sure, why not?
So it says the next morning. It doesn't specify, I don't believe, what day exactly it is. She just says a couple days before Thanksgiving, they're out in the woods. The next morning, her uncles drive up to the home, and she sees Uncle LD in the passenger seat in a white t-shirt with blood on it, and he's nearly unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
So Marla calls her dad to come outside, and she hears her Uncle Dewey say, well, we did it. We hijacked an airplane. We're rich. Our money problems are over.
I mean, that's quite a statement.
Then the uncles leave, and Marla's dad tells her that it's a matter of life and death and swears her to secrecy and says she can't talk about this to anybody.
To anyone, ever.
And then L.D. Cooper disappears after that. Marla says her father suggests he might be hiding from the CIA and FBI because he hijacked an airplane. So Marla's asking her dad, what happened to Uncle LD? I haven't seen him in years.
Yep.
How come we don't see him anymore? And her dad tells her, he's probably still hiding. And she said, from who? And he said, from the CIA and FBI, because he hijacked the plane. How do you not remember this?
I mean, I feel like that's a lot to unpack right there. Marla said that Thanksgiving 2011, she met with the FBI and they told her that they were going to be closing the case because they were satisfied that she was telling the truth.
They think that LD is DB Cooper, the end.
According to Marla.
Right.
Which we didn't get to see a picture of Uncle LD, so we don't really know what Uncle LD looks like compared to the sketch, but if we kind of go about with what the show has said, everybody looks like DB Cooper.
That's true.
So it could have been Uncle LD.
Sure.
Marla believes that it was Uncle LD. I do feel like it is kind of odd, though. He comes home, he's bloody. Why is he bloody? What happened? Where's the money? All those kind of things.
Did we talk about the money real quick too? Because the uncles say, we're rich, our money problems are over. Or DB Cooper did get $200,000
in ransom money.
$200,000. I was thinking, that's not that much. Okay, so according to RomeEconomics.com, I don't know how accurate this source is, but it does say that $200,000 in 1971 would be worth more than $1.5 million today.
That's a good chunk of change.
That's a good chunk of change.
Mm-hmm.
I can kind of see why he, asked for $200,000. It would be someone asking for $1.5 million today.
That's true.
Although, if you're going to go through all of this mess,
I would ask for more.
Of hijacking a plane, jumping out of the plane, risking your life, I feel like $1.5 million isn't enough.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, it should be like, I don't know what, 10 million?
Yeah.
Give me $10 million. Although, now that I think about that, how are you going to jump out of a plane with $10 million? That's a lot. That's heavy.
That's heavy. I honestly feel like 200,000 though is probably pretty heavy too.
200,000 has to be pretty heavy. I agree.
All right, now let's get into suspect number 4, who I personally find to be the most interesting of all the suspects. What did you think?
I wasn't sure at first, but
based on the interviews?
After talking to you and thinking about one piece of the puzzle, I can kind of get behind. I can get behind this one.
You can get behind this one?
I can get behind this one.
I think on this, they saved the best for last, in my opinion.
That makes a lot of sense.
So, suspect number 4 is Mr. Richard Floyd McCoy.
Mm-hmm.
In this show, they interview a couple of people about Mr. McCoy, about Richard. One of the people that they interview is a friend from the National Guard. McCoy, he says, was a group leader in Vietnam. He was his roommate. And that the two of them talked a lot about hijacking.
They talked a lot about hijacking.
I find this to be fascinating. So the way I'm imagining this in my mind is they're sitting around the barracks one night, right? Mm-hmm. And just like, hey, buddy, what are you going to do when you get home from Nam? Well, I'm not happy with the TV dinners in America, so I think I'm just going to hijack a plane.
Go get some Cuban food.
The guy who they interview on the show is very just nonchalant about it. Mm-hmm. No biggie. Mm-hmm. So he had said they talked about it a lot, about hijacking and how to get away with it. Mm-hmm. I think that's also a key thing. Like, you need to talk about how to get away with it, not just, hey, I'm going to go take this airplane and take it for a joyride, and then what are we going to do?
Right. We see a graphic after we've heard from Ben is his name, who is Richard McCoy's friend. We see a graphic that says, in 1972, about 5 months after DB Cooper disappeared, Richard Floyd McCoy, using the name James Johnson, hijacked a Boeing passenger jet flying out of Denver, Colorado to Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. He showed a note, a handgun, a grenade, and demanded $500,000 and 4 parachutes. And he parachutes the same way DB did, deploying the rear air stairs and jumping out.
I mean, that's a lot.
That's a lot. And it's very soon, 5 months after DB Cooper disappeared. Mm-hmm. And it could be a copycat because this happens.
It does happen a lot. I feel like the whole copycat crime thing. But I just find it very odd. It's, for me, and one of these things in the show mentions too, that it could have been that the $200,000, he lost a lot of that money in the DB Cooper hijacking. Mm-hmm. And so he waits a couple of months, does it again, bails out of the airplane near Provo, Utah.
I love this next part.
Okay. The part about the friend, mm-hmm. What the friend does. Okay.
So Ben calls the FBI on old McCoy, his bestie, and the authorities search McCoy's house and they find the $500,000 in his attic. Minus $20 that he used to buy lunch. What?
I mean, might as well.
He was arrested and sentenced.
So he was sentenced to 45 years, broke out, got caught again, broke out again. And that's when the FBI caught him. And apparently he died in a gun battle,
Yes.
this like shootout with FBI.
Yes. Now, here's what I think. I want to hear first why you think that it's him.
Okay, I think it's him because, so for a couple of things, a lot of people thought that McCoy and Cooper looked identical in the sketches and the picture, which I feel like is a thing. But McCoy was in Vegas the day after the DB Cooper hijacking. Now, we learn from the show that this is based on gas receipts, telephone transcripts, put him in Las Vegas. The show states that he went to a casino and they think he laundered all of that money, the original DB Cooper money.
Or what he had left after
jumping out of
jumping,
an airplane. Right. They speak to a retired chief probation officer named Bernie on the show. Bernie talked to McCoy at some point after McCoy was arrested. He believed that McCoy lost the money while he jumped, and that's why he did it a second time. Bernie states that he was interviewing McCoy and he placed a picture of DB Cooper on the table. And McCoy didn't want to touch the picture, denied that he was DB Cooper, said he wasn't going to talk about it. I just have this weird gut suspicion that if you do it once, you're going to do it again.
Especially if you get away with it.
Especially if you get away with it.
And here's what I think it is Richard Floyd McCoy. First of all, I like your reasoning. Mm-hmm. You convinced me. Mm-hmm. Second is, as I mentioned earlier, how the heck is it possible for you to open the air stairs in the air at that, at 10,000 feet? You would think that would be, that would not be safe.
No!
That he would just get sucked out of that,
yeah,
of that opening.
In my mind, I'm literally picturing an airplane, the stairs open in the back, and it just becoming this like... Right, this like suction you out.
Yeah, but we know that this does happen, right? Because people for the military parachutes out of the airplanes. Parachutes out of the airplanes. Okay,
they do. It's possible.
And Richard Floyd McCoy was in the National Guard, where they parachuted off planes.
So he had an idea. He knew.
He did it.
Yeah.
He knew that you could do this. Mm-hmm. He knew how to do this. Mm-hmm. That's why I think it was him. Mm-hmm. He had the experience of parachuting out of airplanes. Mm-hmm. He knew exactly what to do.
Yeah, and how to survive it.
Right.
So out of this, I was curious about where the FBI is these days on DB Cooper. So I looked on the FBI's website, and they actually have a pretty big website for DB Cooper. But at the top of the website, it states that in the summer of 2016, the FBI stated that they're redirecting all of the resources that were allocated for the DB Cooper case to focus on other investigations.
Nothing.
Nothing.
We're nowhere there.
No.
No mystery solved.
No mystery solved. I think it's just one of those things what we're never going to figure out exactly who is DB Cooper. Even though I personally feel like I know who DB Cooper is, I believe it's Richard Floyd McCoy.
I mean, watch the show. It's a fun watch.
It is. It's entertaining.
Yeah, it's very entertaining. You get to hear why all of the people interviewed think that their friend or family member is DB Cooper. It's fascinating. And a lot of the times you're coming out of their stories thinking, okay, it's probably them.
It's probably them. Yeah.
Until you hear the next story.
Exactly. Until you hear the next one.
Can we talk about some other people that we meet during the show?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah.
I have one in particular that I noted named Bruce Smith.
The Wizard.
Is he the wizard? He's the wizard. You have him in your notes as the wizard.
I do. I literally wrote Bruce Smith, author, DB Cooper, and the FBI looks like a wizard.
Okay, here's what I wrote. Bruce Smith wrote a book titled DB Cooper and the FBI, says DB had 40 hours of lead before anyone else on the ground looking for him. And it should be noted, throughout the interview with Bruce, when they're showing B-roll footage of Bruce, he's wearing a royal blue cape. Why?
Why not?
There's no explanation why this man is walking around sometimes, not all the time, sometimes in a cape. I mean, no one's going to ask him, sir, why do you wear this cape? Also, some other things.
I want to wear a cape. I would totally wear a cape.
Yeah, but why? Are you going to say why you would wear a cape?
I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, but it's not normal. You would say
not normal for you. I feel like there's lots of people who wear that kind of thing.
Which is fine.
Which is fine.
But you could say, like, okay, Jen, tell me about your cape. Can I ask why you're wearing your cape?
I mean, I am also...
And then you would say, this is why I wear this cape.
I am also, though, I feel like a little skewed on this subject because I openly will go places. Remember when the Harry Potter movies and the Harry Potter books could come out? Mm-hmm. I would dress up in full Harry Potter attire with my wand and like go to these openings of things.
Which makes sense because you're going to the Harry Potter movie, okay? This man is around his house wearing a cape.
Maybe it's keeping him warm.
Maybe that's fine. I want to know.
You want to know?
I want to know what the cape is for.
I want to say, though, Bruce did make a couple of really valid points in the show about some of the lost evidence.
He sure does. Okay, he says that the FBI lost DB Cooper's cigarette butts. The ones he smoked on the plane. They had them at one point and then they lost them. And you know what really drives me crazy? They interviewed the former FBI people who I guess either worked or working, whatever, on this case. And the guy just smirks pretty much when they ask him, what happened to this evidence? Where are the cigarette butts? And he just gives like this really irritating smirk. Like, well, I guess they got lost.
I feel for me, it's probably on he knows it's been missing. And I feel like the FBI probably has received so much criticism on this.
As they should.
Obviously, losing evidence is not a good thing at all.
No.
But I want to say, all of these years, like things happen, stuff goes missing, stuff gets moved.
How does evidence go missing or moved when you're the FBI? I can understand if this was like a little small town police station where, you know, they don't really have, you know, the highest qualified people who are working all the time. This is the FBI. This should be like the elite of the elite, right?
But I do think that it's probably the elite of the elite. But I also feel that there's only so much stuff you can store, right? There's only so much space. And think about all of the crimes that were committed between 1971 and 2025. Like there is a lot of time between that where it's all this new evidence. And it's not just like a plastic bag full of stuff. Like we're talking boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff.
Right. Well, how does that disappear? That's another point. How the heck do you lose boxes and boxes of stuff?
Because I think over time, it's one of those things that you just move it and you have new stuff come in that's honestly a little more important, I think. If you think about it, realistically, there's a lot more bigger cases that have happened, especially involving the FBI, than a hijacking where nobody was hurt.
Sure. Okay, fine. He also mentions that there was kind of a mess with the fingerprints.
This whole fingerprinting thing, I think, was a little off. Obviously, we know he was touching stuff. Like, you have to touch things. We know he's touching things.
Yeah. You need to get the fingerprints, and they didn't gather them properly? Or they lost them? There's no fingerprints.
Yeah, we know nothing at all about fingerprints, which is something that Bruce Smith, the author, DB Cooper, and the FBI, who looks like a wizard, mentions.
He also says that 8.5 years after the hijacking, the FBI didn't have any hard evidence in the case. There was no body, no parachute, no bomb, no briefcase, no person, no money. Well, there was some money found.
There was some money in the.
But 8.5 years after it happened, there was no money found.
I mean, I feel like there has to be a trace somewhere.
Somewhere buried in the woods, probably.
So we still to this day do not know who DB Cooper is.
Bernie thinks that it was Floyd McCoy. You think it was Floyd McCoy. I can get behind that. I'm with you.
You're with me.
Yeah,
I convinced Tina.
you sure did.
I mean, who knows? It might not be any of these people.
It's true.
It's one of those we'll never know.
We'll never know.
We'll never know.
But it was so much fun to watch. This was after coming out of a darker case.
Mhm.
This was a lot of fun to get into.
I think it was nice and a light case, a very entertaining show. The Mystery of D.B. Cooper. It's an HBO original. We both watched it on the Max app. I think you should go out and watch it.
Absolutely. And hey, if you have a theory, leave a comment on our Instagram. We want to know what yours is.
And we also have a website.
We do. We have a website. It is up and running, crimenewsies.com. We are on Instagram at crimenewsies. We have a Gmail.
We do.
crimenewsies@gmail.com. And we're on Podbean.
Woohoo!
You can find us at Podbean, crimenewsies.podbean.com. And we are officially on Spotify. If you search for us on Spotify, just search for Two Crime Newsies.
Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week.
Bye!